So the goal of this video is to answer every single question you have about the EngBio CDT program. A little bit of context, I'm Natasha. I am a first year PhD student, actually just finished my first year at the University of Oxford studying engineering biology on the Engineering Biology CDT program, which is a collaboration between Oxford and Bristol, and I'm part of the first cohort. So I thought I would make a summary video addressing a lot of questions I get on LinkedIn about the program. I thought, let's make this video so this resource just exists online and you don't have to wait for me to reply to your questions on LinkedIn. So I've got all the questions that I've received here and I'm gonna go through my answers. Let's do it. First question, how many programs did I apply to before getting this one? I think it was about 7. I applied to Lausanne, I applied to Imperial, I applied to UCL, I applied to 3 at Oxford. This is the 3rd program I applied to at Oxford. My advice in general is apply, apply, apply. The application process is only going to be beneficial to you. Plus, once you've written one application, you've basically written 10. If you get your first one, you're probably the exception to the rule. That'd be great if you are, but if you don't, then that's very normal. Next question. I understand the position calls for previous research experience. Do you think an undergrad research project would suffice for this, or would it be better to apply following a master's? Honestly, I know someone who's coming into cohort 2 straight from undergrad, so I don't think it's a problem if you don't have a master's. No harm in applying, just go for it. Also, I think that if you apply this year, don't get it, go away, do a master's, do some work experience, become a research assistant for a year, come back, having applied this year, it's just going to strengthen your application because it's going to show, oh, this person really wants to be on the program. They didn't get it the first time, but they're resilient enough to come back the second time. Did you contact any supervisors before applying, and do you think this helps your application? Yes, I did. I actually applied to a PhD program with a Oxford supervisor, didn't get that. He was like, right, look, we're going to give it to someone else, please apply to this instead. Apply to this other thing, didn't get that. Great. Please apply to this. Yeah, sure, I'll apply to that. Got it eventually. Being in contact with supervisors is probably the strongest thing you can do for your PhD application, because you're showing that additional level of initiative, which makes your application more competitive. Is the CDT essentially a synthetic biology program, or does it differ from Synbio in any way? Honestly, engineering biology is the rebrand of synthetic biology. However, when I think about Synbio, I think climate tech, I think engineering bacteria to produce industrial products. I think building engineered living materials. Like, these are the sort of things that I associate with Synbio. And Synbio, in that sense of the word, is probably more at Imperial. Most of Oxford is focused on med tech and medicine. But I don't think that's a bad thing. The way I've rationalized that is, if you can learn the skills for medicine, you can transfer those skills to Synbio. If you can learn to create a material that delivers a drug, then you can think about how to transfer those skills to make the material deliver an enzyme. But that is something to be aware of. What is the training term like, and what courses do you take? How are they taught, and is the teaching thorough / delivered well? We've got 2 welcome weeks, one at Bristol, one at Oxford. Then we start at Oxford. So both Bristol and Oxford cohorts come to Oxford, and Oxford cohorts, you live in your college. Bristol live all together, either in a college or they lived in Airbnbs at some point for a bit. All covered by the program, you don't have to pay for your accommodation. If you're Bristol, if you're Oxford, you pay for college or accommodation, flat, whatever. After welcome weeks, we've got 4 weeks where we're split. So if you have a maths or engineering background, you will go and you will do biology, and you're going to learn how to do a bacterial transfection, how to do cloning, how to be in a lab, how to pipette, how to do mammalian cell culture, that sort of thing. If you're a biologist, you will go to the Tom building and you will do maths and MATLAB. It's fast paced, but the teaching is incredible. And that's feedback both from the engineering and the biology streams. The teaching was so good. It is 9 to 5 every day with an hour break for lunch. So it's quite intense, but it's nice because it's like school, and you go to a class and you have PhD students / professors demonstrating or giving you a lecture. And then in the afternoon you do problem sheets / lab stuff, and it's really good. I think I learned a lot. I think the engineering stream was definitely quite intimidating, but if you don't get everything, it's fine. The most important thing is your approach and that you at least try. That doesn't mean that you have to finish all the problem sheets, but you should at least engage. Bottom line, engage, but don't panic. So that was the first 4 weeks. Then we come together on week 5 at Oxford, and we did a group project where we designed an intervertebral disc. You can see a little bit of that in my month 1 vlog on this channel. Then we had a week break where it was reading week. You get like 3 reading weeks in first year, which is insane. I don't think any other PhD program has reading week. The special thing about this reading week was that a bunch of us went to iGEM and we volunteered, and it was amazing. You can watch a little bit of iGEM on my month 2 vlog of the PhD on my channel. Then back from reading week, and we all lived in Bristol. So 6 weeks of taught modules in Bristol. All the Oxford cohort lived together in a big house in Bristol, in Clifton, which was so fancy. Well, the house wasn't fancy, Clifton is fancy. Had the best time. It wasn't 9 to 5 like Oxford was. It was probably like 10 to 3, intense days. But it was the best. Again, you can watch it in month 2 of the PhD. I've got loads of Bristol clips there. I am so jealous of cohort 1 going to Bristol this year. When the 6 weeks in Bristol finished, we had the retreat. We went to Swindon. I think they're picking a better location this year, hopefully. But it was really fun regardless. That's in month 3 of the PhD vlog. Everything's vlogged, so you can like see the real behind the scenes of everything that went down. And then after the retreat, which ended in December, we go on holiday for a whole month. It was amazing. It was such a good break. When we came back, we started our group projects. Each cohort at their home institution was split into groups. Oxford was 2 groups. For me, the great thing about the group project is that, first of all, you have a team relying on you, so that keeps you accountable and it keeps your work to a really high standard. But second of all, you get to feed off people's good habits. So my course mate Cecilia was probably the most organized person. She made this whole document for us, shared drive, and it was so useful. That is something I then adopted in my rotation projects, and I will take on to my PhD, that level of organization in terms of like filing. Another cool thing about the innovation project is that it encourages you to think beyond the lab. It encourages you to do market research and read patents and see pricing. What would you price the product or the technology you've developed? Where would you advertise? How would you market it? All that stuff. I have a little bit of an insight into our innovation project in month 4 of the PhD. So yeah, you can watch that if you want to. Then we had another reading week. And then after reading week, we started our rotation projects. So it's 2 11-week rotation projects. 11-week rotation project in one lab, and then reading week, which is when we went to Greece, which you can also watch on my YouTube channel, and then 11-week rotation project in another lab. In the second rotation project, you get 3 weeks of annual leave before the end of the project. And then you finish, and then you have a break, which is what I'm doing right now, and then we start our PhDs before the 19th of September. The programme provide enough training for biologists who want to do more computational / engineering focused projects. I would say yes. You probably won't get everything you want to know computationally / engineering wise in the first 4 weeks if you want to go into a computational / engineering project. But what you can do is you can apply to a rotation project in that field that feels a bit out of your depth. Rotation projects are such low stakes. The main aim of them is so that you can get to know your supervisors, your lab environment, and then decide which lab of the rotation projects you want to do your PhD in. So if you can combine getting to know your supervisor with trying out a new skill, amazing. What were my rotation projects about and what techniques did I use? I was 3D printing blood vessels for both rotation projects. I did a lot of 3D printing, I did a lot of chemical synthesis, I did a lot of mammalian cell culture. These were all skills that I hadn't really learned before, so it was really cool in that respect. They were really fun. I really enjoyed them. How many people are there in each cohort? So I think we're about 13 altogether, 7 at Oxford, I think 6 at Bristol, and I think it's the same for cohort 2. So the cohorts are quite small, but it's good because you get to know people really well. When cohort 2 comes, we'll expand, and then cohort 3, and then it's really cool because every year we have a summer school, and all cohorts will be invited to the summer schools. So by my 4th year, there'll probably be about 60 of us. And I'm so excited. But at the moment, 13 until September, then we'll double. What have I found to be the advantages or disadvantages? A main advantage of the program is that it is startup driven and it's innovation driven. So there's no pressure to become an academic or publish. We get innovation training, we get talks from startup founders. It's very, very translational research driven, which is really fun and really cool and also really exciting, because I think that aligns with most of us more. And I think it's one of its kind in terms of how the program is so focused on innovation. The second big pro of this CDT is how good the program and the organisers are at taking on feedback. There are administrators whose job is overseeing all the process of the program. They organise our hotels when we go to Bristol. They booked our tickets to Synbio UK. They organised a whole amazing itinerary for our summer school. They organised our retreat. So there's someone whose job it is to do all those amazing things and look out for our welfare and check in with us, which is amazing. And I haven't really seen that in other PhD programs. And they are incredible at taking on feedback. So they have feedback forms that they send at the end of every term. And not only do they have targets and ways that they can demonstrate they've taken on that feedback, but also they've changed so many things that they've learned from this year for next year. They spend a lot of money on us. They paid for Synbio UK, travel, hotels. They've paid for hotels when we stay in Bristol. I would have never expected that, but it's such a big bonus, and it makes you feel really special to go to Bristol for a training session and then have a hotel there, which is really fancy. It feels a bit surreal, to be honest. Also, they took initiative to start a new seminar series where we, the students, can bring in any speaker we want and they will cover catering and tickets and travel and stuff like that. It's really nice to have a program that actually listens to its students, and yeah, it feels like we're at the centre of it all, which is amazing. So yeah, big praise to the admin team on the course. We get to live in Bristol and Oxford, so I touched on that, but honestly, that's so amazing. I love Bristol so much, and you don't have to pay for it. Honestly, the cohort aspect is the best. I think you don't get that through programs that are not CDTs when you just apply to the lab and the lab is your circle. Best thing about the CDT is the people on it, and just kind of like getting to live through the PhD experience with people who are going through the same thing as you and are just as new to it as you are, and also just doing life with these people. Often your updates are their updates because they're experiencing the same thing. If you want to know more about the cohort experience, you can watch my vlogs. I have documented it all. But the cons, I'm sure you want to know about the cons. Currently, there's a 1 primary supervisor per student rule. So what that means is that if you want to work with a supervisor and someone else also wants to work with that supervisor can only be one person's primary supervisor. There are ways to get around that, in the sense that you can have someone computational be your primary supervisor, be experimentally based at your desired supervisor's lab. So there are ways to get to work with the person you want to work with, but it is a bit of a frustrating rule. I'd be lying if I didn't say that that's not a con. The other thing is there's not as many options to do Synbio at Oxford as there are Imperial, which is something I sort of touched on before, but I don't think that's a deal breaker. It's just something to be aware of. And you can't have London expectations in Oxford. For me, I became obsessed with the dance scene in London, and there's just not the same opportunities in Oxford. But I think if you're moving to a new city, you can't go to that city with your previous city's expectations. You have to sort of let the city change you a little bit. So for me, I've traded dancing for running, because just like you can dance 7 days a week in London, you can run 7 days a week in Oxford in the sense that there's run clubs and there's like social events all around running because of the amazing nature that exists in Oxford. So I've really gotten into run club, and I'm running my first half marathon in October, which is the Oxford Half, all because that's kind of what Oxford has given to me as running. I would have never run in London. One more con I would say is when you come back from Bristol, it's a bit underwhelming in the sense that you've been in Bristol and you're living with all your friends, and then you come back and you do the innovation project with the Oxford people, but because you're seeing them every day, like professionally, and like working with them every day, you're not going to socialize in the evening. But then when you go home after like your 9 to 5 innovation project, you then have to really put in an effort to go into college and make friends in college. My biggest advice, and something I wish I knew, was go to salsa club, because that's where all the postgrads are. But I think, yeah, the difficult thing is you come after being away for 2 months and a half and everyone at college knows each other, they're all friends, so you're a bit at a disadvantage. But I wouldn't trade Bristol because it does work out. It's just, yeah, it's a bit of a weird month when you come back because you're like, where's my social circle? Last question. I'm keen to delve into the world of engineering biology. Are there any journals, papers, books, etc. you would recommend as a starting point? I would say Asimov Press by Nico McCarty is probably the best place you can learn about EngBio. And we might have an exciting thing coming as a cohort in October. Stay tuned for that. That's all. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.